Who remembers a game called Singularity? Probably if you're watching this video and new to the channel, well, you remember this game, I assume. Or you've fallen down a weird rabbit hole on YouTube and can't escape. Whatever the case, Singularity is a game that unfortunately was a first-person shooter developed by Raven Software that for whatever reason was lost to time. Do I understand why many may have skipped out on this game? Yeah, I do. On the surface, it looks like a mix of many popular FPS titles at the time, such as BioShock, Metro, Call of Duty, and Resistance. The game has that same brown tone that seemed to be a thing for the 7th generation, and doesn't look like anything but a cash grab title with a tacked on multiplayer component that again was pretty standard for the time. Whilst reviews upon release were solid, sales were less than stellar, which baffles me as nothing really released in June of 2010 except Alpha Protocol? Yeah, that game exists. And because of all of this, Singularity remained nothing to most people, except for me, who did pick the game up at release and have always had a lot of fond memories with this title, and decided it would be the perfect game to revisit for the channel. So today I'll be going over Singularity's story, gameplay, and finding out if this game stands the test of time. Unfortunately, I won't be covering the multiplayer component here as, well, to be expected, this is what I experienced on that front. But the question remains, is Singularity as good as I remember, or does it rightfully deserve to be forgotten? Let's find out.
1945, the Soviet Union continues to expand in both...
The backstory to Singularity is an alternate version of history, in which after World War II, the Russians discovered a new element known as E99, an element that seemingly had the potential to rival nuclear weaponry, and after setting up a base on the island of Katorga 12 to try and harness this element, an accident occurs and the island seemingly has no known survivors and is quickly covered up by the Russian government. In the present, the year is 2010, as we take control of Captain Nathaniel Renko, a US soldier sent by the Pentagon to investigate Katorga 12 after sudden spikes in radiation were detected. A seemingly uneventful mission goes haywire, however, as an EMP blast takes out the chopper and separates Renko from his squad. While exploring the island, another surge of energy hits the island as Renko is transported back to 1955, when the island was still occupied by the Soviets. We rescue an injured man called Nikolai Demichev from death, and as we are escaping the building, a man tries to tell us to stop and let Demichev die. We ignore this advice, and after saving Demichev, are returned to the present, learning we have altered history, as Demichev ended up becoming a ruthless dictator in the vein of Stalin, which is a pretty big oopsie on our behalf. In the present, we also learned that the E99 has mutated the residents of Katorga 12 in variations of nightmarish monsters that have overrun the island. We managed to regroup with our unit momentarily before we are captured by Demichev and his troops, and we witness our unit being killed in front of us, only to be saved at the last minute by a mysterious woman called Catherine. Catherine is a member of the resistance group MayorHairBear, a group founded after the organization discovered a journal depicting the accident of Katorga 12, and the group believing that Renko is the key to stopping all of this, as he is mentioned by name in the journal. Catherine leads us to the device called the Time Manipulation Device, or TMD for short, as this device is key for traveling back and forth between time periods and helping set history right again. Our first journey back to the past is to rescue a scientist called Viktor Barasov, the creator of the TMD, as he should be able to help us harness the TMD and stop Demichev. Back in the present, Renko and Barasov decide that the best course of action to set history right again is to destroy Katorga 12 with a bomb made from the E99, which they need to find on the island. Unfortunately, after learning the location of such a bomb and retrieving it, Catherine is lost as she attempts to distract Demichev's men. Yeah, she doesn't really have much of a significance in the story. After charging the bomb and detonating it, they destroy the facility that led Demichev to become so powerful, and we return to the present, only to find Demichev holding Barasov at gunpoint. Demichev reveals that after the facility was destroyed, well, he just rebuilt it, and history remained unchanged. Barasov finally realizes that rescuing Demichev is the event that needs to be changed, and asks Renko to go back to the past and kill himself to ensure Demichev's demise. On the other hand, Demichev offers if Renko kills Barasov right now, they can rule an empire together. It's here the player has three choices: kill Barasov, kill Demichev, or kill them both, and this will lead to one of three endings. I chose to kill Demichev, which means we go back in time to the fire and kill ourselves to stop Demichev's rise to power, and the game ends as we return to the chopper and see a statue of Barasov, leaving the player to assume he in this world is the dictator. If we kill Barasov, we rule the empire with Demichev, but not all is so happy. After time passes and Demichev fears Renko's power with the TMD, and another Cold War starts. Finally, if we kill both of them, Renko lets the world fall into chaos and emerges as the new world leader. No matter the ending, after the credits we see Catherine survive the boat, but gets pulled back to 1955 and is revealed that she wrote the message in the journal to find Renko. And that is the story of Singularity. My biggest issue with the story is the fact it takes our cast of characters until the last 15 minutes of the game to realize that rescuing Demichev was the mistake that changed history. I mean, we're with smart people, right? Why does this revelation happen so late? Also, in the ending in which we kill ourselves and side with Barasov, well, how does the time loop continue? How do we continue making it far enough into the future to kill ourselves if we kill ourselves in the 50s? Just a time paradox that is never really explained. It's not a complete mood killer to realize this inconsistency, but it is a shame that it wasn't further thought out, or at least explained more, considering this ending is clearly the intended one. The story on the whole isn't spectacular in terms of a time travel storyline, because it is quite basic, and the fact that the monsters in terms of story essentially don't matter is a real shame. But what the story of Singularity does do really well is create an interesting world, interesting lore, and fun gameplay. I mean, a personal highlight of mine was from one of the notes in the beginning of the game, reading about a family in distress and being scared for the kids upstairs, seeing monsters around the house, and finding the kids still in the same room upstairs. It makes for a world that you want to find out more about. This game does have charm throughout as well, with Bioshock-esque slide projections that do shine some light on how the Russians would look at the US, and the drawings and voiceover for these are really well done. But what Singularity does best, in my opinion, is the gameplay. While the gameplay of Singularity seemingly is where the game's inspirations are most obvious, such as swapping between your weapons and the TMD a la Bioshock, or the gunplay and mutants having a very resistance vibe to them, but do these similarities mean the gameplay is less than stellar? No, it's freaking awesome. I'll start off by talking about the TMD. In combat encounters, the TMD acts as a form of melee that works a real treat against the spider enemies that otherwise are a huge pain in the ass and will destroy your health. But having the ability to age an enemy to death and see them shrivel into nothing just feels good. You also have the ability to shoot out a time bubble that will stop your enemies in place and let you unload bullets into them. And what makes it even cooler than this is if you're in the time bubble yourself, you can see how quickly bullets move in this bubble, which was a nice touch. Outside of combat, you do mainly use the TMD to age or reverse the clock on certain objects, which is mainly used for quite simple puzzles. But also, when you need to use a destroyed form of transport, for instance the train, and seeing it return to its fully functioning self, it is a nice touch and does make you feel the power of the TMD. But it leaves you wanting more when Renko fully resurrects a sunken ship via cutscene. Yeah, this was a letdown. Imagine like in Star Wars The Force Unleashed, when Starkiller drags down the Star Destroyer, and in that moment you were like, no way, am I actually going to be able to do this? Why couldn't that have been the case here in Singularity? Let us, the player, rise a sunken ship and return it to its former glory. Instead of watching it happen, it would have been badass. The guns themselves are pretty stock standard. We have a pistol, assault rifle, a shotgun, a sniper, a grenade launcher, and a minigun. All the guns feel like they should, and they all can be upgraded to up damage, clip size, etc. Unfortunately, you can only carry 2 weapons at a time, which led to me not really changing up my playstyle throughout, of having either the assault rifle or minigun along with my sniper rifle. The sniper rifle is OP as hell, I'll say that. Being able to slow down time, and if you are quick enough with your shot, you can literally just pick off enemies one by one with this tactic. It feels good to do this, but unfortunately, unless you are up against teleporting enemies or in close range gunfights, it does become a little overused due to its power. But again, it is so much fun. However, while the sniper rifle is a consistent weapon of choice, it is not the most badass weapon in the game. No, that honor goes to the Seeker. The Seeker incorporates the slow-mo feature of the Sniper Elite series, but the bullet control like you would see in, say, Wanted. And every time it becomes available, you bet your ass I picked it up. The satisfaction of taking out an entire room and seeing the look on your enemies' faces moments before you make contact is priceless. We need more guns like this in video games. In terms of enemy variety, we have both monsters and humans, and what I would describe as a decent amount of variety. Human-wise, we have grunts, armored enemies, and riot shields that mix together. Well, as I said, the sniper is pretty OP, so that mixed with not stellar AI makes the human gunfights a bit of a breeze, honestly. The mutants fare much better with, well, I don't think they have names, so here's the names I have for them. Slenderman, Jumpers, Pests, and Nightmare Fuel. The Slenderman are your basic monsters, nothing too special. The Jumpers do become somehow more common than the Slenderman and force you to use your TMD more with your guns and are probably the most fun to fight. The Pests are just that, they're annoying. And last but by far my favourite are the Nightmare Fuel enemies, aka the blind ones. The encounters where you first face this foe is actually one of the best in the game. As I said before, they are blind, but their hearing is superhuman, and if they hear you, they do ridiculous damage. So slowly and quietly walking past these enemies or facing grave consequences made for truly terrifying encounters, especially once they get involved with other enemy types. So you hope they attack another enemy while you're in gunfights or you'll be in trouble. And by far this enemy type was the best in the game. Singularity also has boss fights. I'm really stretching the word fights. It has 2. But they're both a good time. The first is a big armored jumper enemy in which you need to catch his projectiles and throw them back at him and shoot his weak points. And the second is a giant insect-like creature who is massive but simply requires shooting glowing spots. But it is a spectacle. The best part of these bosses though is the lead up. You see the enemies long before you face them, and it adds a bit of tension to the areas when you see them around and learn that big monsters do exist in this world. I only wish there were more moments like these. Singularity is not a perfect game by any means. The storyline does have some plot holes. The enemy AI leaves something to be desired. Weapon balancing could have been tweaked to encourage the player to experiment with other weaponry, and in all honesty, the game is a little easy, even on the hardest setting. All of this and the game should only take you roughly 4 to 5 hours to complete. I know, I'm not doing a great job of selling the game right now, but while the game has its issues, it is still a blast to experience. The gunplay, the time manipulation mechanics, the monsters, unraveling this story, plot holes or not, and being in this world makes it a joy to play. Being on Katorga 12, learning about the accident, learning more about the residents of the island's struggles against mutated friends and family, and the aesthetic of the game all make the journey through Singularity worthwhile. I don't think Singularity hit its full potential, and I'm led to believe Raven Software was hit with a bit of a rush towards the end of development, so fleshing out some ideas had to be scrapped. And whilst on release, $60 for a 4 to 5 hour experience isn't selling anyone, now the game is around $10 consistently, and for that price, if you have yet to experience this forgotten FPS, I highly recommend you finally play the game for yourself, because Singularity is truly a treasure lost to time. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video on Singularity. I was actually pretty afraid this title would fall victim to my own nostalgia, but I had a blast from start to finish. If you enjoyed the video though, don't forget to leave it a like and comment below your thoughts on Singularity if you've played it, or if you haven't, does it look like something that'd be up your alley? Subscribe if you're new, I do videos on the regular. I'm currently working on the next series of retrospectives for the channel. It's a series I haven't played since they released individually, but have a lot of fun memories for, and can't wait to put them to the nostalgia test. Yes, I'll be covering the BioShock series, so get excited. If you want the best way to stay up to date with the channel, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MayorHairBear. I post almost daily on Instagram, and basically it acts as a way to show off my taste in gaming with my collection or games I've picked up. And Twitter is where I update more so on how videos are going and when videos are going to be up. But with all that said, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.